Welcome to Agency Bytes, a podcast for agency owners, hosted by agency veteran and coach Steve Guberman. Agency Bytes is a podcast focused on delivering actionable agency information from agency experts in about 25 minutes. Why 25 minutes? Because who has the attention span for much more these days? And you can squeeze in a listen between meetings with time for a bathroom break or coffee refill before your next meeting.
This podcast is sponsored by Ignition, because the smartest agencies don't just win clients, they get paid effortlessly. Start 2026 strong at ignitionapp.com. Welcome to Agency Bytes. I'm your host, Steve Guberman from Agency Outsight, where I coach agency owners to build the business of their dreams. My guest today is Michael Janda, award-winning creative director, agency founder, and best-selling author. He built and sold his agency Riser after 13 years working with powerhouse clients like Disney, Google, and Warner Brothers. And after that, he was a creative director at Fox. You probably know him from his books, Burn Your Portfolio and The Psychology of Graphic Design Pricing. These days, he's helping creatives master the business side of creativity with straight talk advice on pricing, positioning, and growth that actually works. Michael, great to have you.
Thank you, Steve. I'm excited to be here. We're doing the twinner, middle-aged, gray beard, bald man look.
Love it.
If people don't pay close attention, they won't be able to tell us apart.
They've got to jump into the YouTube to see it because it's uncanny. Who's who?
They do.
Yeah.
I can't even tell. I'm looking at you. Am I looking at you? Am I looking at me? I can't even tell.
I feel like a lot of really creative, successful creatives have our vibe. The low beard, the bald head. Yeah. It's popular.
Yeah,
man. It's good to have you.
On and off.
Yeah.
I shave it off. I can't take it, and then I try and keep it for a while. But this winter, which is my start right now, I'm gonna try and see how far I can go this time.
All right.
We'll see.
Report back.
Could be 1 week. Could be 1 month. We don't know. Could be the rest of my life. Who knows? We'll find out.
So, for those that don't know, give the quick kind of backstory on the agency, the exit, what led you to what you're doing now. And what you're doing now.
So I was a creative director at Fox Studios over Fox Kids, Fox Family brands, and on the digital side. And then the .bomb hit in 2001. They started downsizing. Our team of 50 went down to a team of 6 at the end. Finally got laid off in 2002. The last 6 of us in HR getting our papers that day. And I started freelancing. And while people were getting laid off, they started calling me from their new job saying, hey, can you do this? Can you do this? And so I was doing freelance work, moved from LA to Salt Lake after I realized I was doing everything over the phone and chat. And then my freelance, I spent a couple years resisting growth, but my numbers were great. And I got to where I was working the 80-hour weeks and I was afraid to hire, and finally got kind of forced into it by stress and just hanging by a thread. Hired my first person. 1 year later, had office space and 5 employees. The year after that, I had 12 employees and hit the 7-figure mark. And once I let the horse run, it just took off and growth happened, and figured out all the business side of stuff. I'm a designer by nature, and I had to learn the business side of things. And while I was building my agency, I realized, man, what I really love is that creative director role, that mentoring role, that education role. I loved my company staff meetings. I put together decks and teach people the mantras of my agency. And I realized that was the thing I loved the most. And so when it came time to hang the hat on my agency, that was part of the reason. I had my first book, Burn Your Portfolio, had come out. Was getting invited to speak at places, and I started thinking, what's next in my career? Because I had climbed all the agency mountains that I wanted to climb, and had an opportunity to sell. Sold my agency, stayed at the agency I sold to for 2.5 years during my buyout investing. And then I left there and started doing what I'm doing now, which is the best thing of my whole career. I just love it. I love making content. I love going on podcasts. I love coaching people. I love my community, mentoring people. I just love what I'm doing from a career standpoint. It's awesome.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, man. We have very parallel paths, and I love hearing that. I was on the phone with an agency yesterday. I'm helping them go through an exit, and she said, I've seen you for 20 years run through your agency, get out of corporate, run through your agency, sell your agency, all these things. You've never looked happier. I was like, I absolutely love what I'm doing now, helping people. I do a lot with students and people entering the industry and people trying to get their businesses better. So yeah, man, right there with you. Talk about that exit. A lot of people I think are attracted to like, oh, I want to sell too, and talk about like what advice you might give to founders about like what's that exit path look like.
I didn't even think to sell it until I had made all the money I wanted to make out of it. I had climbed all the mountains. I had put my flag in the top of the mountain. I had won all the awards I wanted. I had sick studio space with my wood floors and my exposed beams and all the junk glass walls, our whiteboard room. We had a company boat. Like I was just like, check, 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 check. All the things that I would dream for a cool agency I had done. And then I looked at my bank accounts and I had a few $1 million and I'm like, I don't need the risk of this anymore. I don't need the burden. There was nothing left driving me. I did not want to go. I had a team with 20. I didn't want to go to grow it to 50 or start a satellite office in New York or in LA. I just didn't want that next piece that it would have taken to get out of or to get bigger or better or whatever than where I was. I loved the boutique agency that I built and I didn't need the risk anymore. So I think the advice is, man, make a business that makes money for you, fill your coffers with that money, and then choose what you want to do. You can shut it down. You don't have to sell it. Shut it down and do something else. Keep it going and enjoy doing it for the fun of entrepreneurship, not because you're trying to build your net worth or look for somebody to sell or merge with another agency, which is what you see very commonly. All these conglomerates of, Sally, John, and Dexter Design. It's like 3 agencies that merged together because at some point they all wanted something new and something fresh. And maybe there's a path for you there, but do it after you've checked all the boxes. They say build to sell, but I don't believe that in agency world. I say build it to make you money, and then you'll have a lot of choices on what you want to do with it after you hit whatever number you're looking for.
Yeah. I love the built to sell model because if a business is running good enough to be sold, then you've got those options. It's running so well, I can turn down offers. I can put a CEO in place and step back. So I'm fully there with you.
Well, if it makes you money, then somebody might be interested in buying it to make them money. But you get people who they go all in trying to just invest and grow and grow and grow, and they don't make their money themselves. It's going to be a tough sell on a creative business to try and get somebody to buy it if it hasn't made you a lot of money.
Yeah, and too many owners put everybody else first, and they pay themselves last. And it's that was one of my challenges. Was I got to pay myself. Minimum wage looks pretty darn good after working 100 hours this week. So a lot of owners don't prioritize that.
Yeah,
you and I were both kind of accidental agency owners, designers, creative directors, etc. And burn your portfolio. You talk about creative talent alone just isn't enough anymore. And I'm curious, what do you think like the biggest blind spot you see in like creative founders that are struggling with today?
Well, creative founders struggle by not running their business like a business. They run it like a freelancer. You want to run a business like a business, then start tracking your data, start analyzing it, deriving insights, make pivots because you're looking forward on your business, intentionally running your business as if you were a corporation. Now, you don't have to get all crazy about it, although I did, but you got to be tracking something. And a lot of agencies that struggle to break out of the one founder with 3 contractors model, which is so common, they struggle to break out of it because they're just not tracking anything. They're not working on the vision. They're not working on the plan to get there. They're not tracking their financial data. They're not looking for trends that happened last year that are happening again this year. So they have some foresight on what might be happening in their business now and what they need to do. They don't track anything. I think it's a big, big, big blind spot. And it's one of the things that I did well. I became obsessive with that. Just all the minutia and details, and SOPs, another thing. I mean, man, you got a lot of freelancer with three contractor models that are just everything operates out of the founder. Instead, make your SOPs and let the SOPs run those people. And now you have a scalable model that you can hire more people in and slot them into your SOPs and have the business function the way that you would make it function. And I think that's a miss too. There's too much operating like a freelancer. I call it the overgrown freelancer model.
Yeah.
And a lot of, or most agencies that are stuck in the 1 to 5 employee size are just overgrown freelancers. They're not a business. So you got to change the way that you look at everything in your business and put your business hat on more often.
So two follow-up questions on that. One is, the things that they should be tracking. So is it, in your experience, cash flow, projected sales, profitability? Like, what are those key metrics?
Yeah, I tracked a ton of things, more than I needed. And I tracked it for the entire run. In fact, when I started tracking data, I started about 2006, and I had my office manager go back the 4 years earlier and retro track all of the stuff from before. Some of the pieces of data that I got the most insights from, the first one was the monthly profit and loss based on accrual accounting, meaning, did you invoice more than the cost of your business this month? Did you last month? Did you the next month? Are you projected to next month? This kind of tracking keeps you focused on running your business to a profit in the short terms, which will inevitably make you profitable in the long term. I had a dry erase board in my office where we tracked it, and every month that the revenue number exceeded the expense number, we would color in the square green. And my goal, the game I made, was keep my green line going as long as I could. And then every once in a while you'd hit a red thing and I'd be like, crap, we just ruined the streak. But if you saw that board, and I wish I had a photo of it, but if you saw that board, it was like overwhelmingly green lines, and then a stretch of red, and then another stretch of green, and then a stretch of 3 or 4 months in red. And ironically, those red times often happen in the same quarter every single year.
Yeah.
Q1, I can see, because I track the data, I can see that my January, February, March, one of those months will be the smallest month of revenue every year. I can also see that August or September is almost always the biggest month of my year in revenue. And so I could see those trends, and then it helps me project what's going to happen in the future. So that was a big data point that I got a lot of insights out on. Proposals sent or proposals pitched versus proposals won. What's your win rate? And how many do you have? So if April this year had 5 proposals and April last year had 12, well, you might have a little data point that could cause you some concern about what your revenue might look like in June or July, because that's when those things will bill out if they're getting pitched in April. So you start seeing those trends. So proposals won versus lost, and number of proposals sent was a big one. Leads that came in, what is my lead quantity every single month? And we'd actually track it by week. How many leads are coming in? What are the sources of those leads? So you can see what's working in your marketing. It helps you see what's going to come. Because if you see that your lead volume is down compared to last year, and your proposal count is down compared to last year, you will be likely down in your revenue a month to 3 months ahead. So the data creates a crystal ball for your business.
As the year wraps up, think about how much time you've lost chasing payments. With Ignition, you'll never chase invoices again. Automate your proposals, agreements, and billing, and join more than 8,000 businesses using Ignition to save time, eliminate payments, and grow faster. Make it your smartest move heading into 2026. Visit ignitionapp.com to get started. Yeah, love that, man. Yeah. I'm a big dashboard guy, and I love building these out. I did a lot for my agency. I do a lot for clients of helping them kind of crystal ball out what you're talking about. The other thing that you mentioned that sparked something in me, the sub 5, sub 7 people agencies, the bottleneck is the owner. And I have a lot of thoughts on that. I do a lot of talks on delegation, things like that. What's your thought on what's holding them back from getting out of the way?
Not having SOPs, obviously, and I already mentioned that. Yeah. Not having SOPs, not being able to let go of the quality of the work. And I'm not talking about whether the work is good or not. I'm talking about the 10 or 20% that is subjective on the end. So you hire somebody to be an art director in your 7-person agency, and you as the founder would have made a different creative decision than that person.
Yeah.
So you go and you critique it and tell them to change the thing. Now, the thing that you ask them to change so often will not change the effectiveness of the work. It's just your preference versus their preference. But the work will still work for the end client and the target audience. And I think a lot of founders can't get out of their own way in realizing that their preference is what they're critiquing in. So they feel like they have to be in the weeds of everything, when in reality, if you hire good people, you got to take a step back and realize they're 80% of what I would have done is good enough to get 100% of the results.
Hell yeah.
And the rest is just subjective preference. Yeah.
Yep. Love that. And so that's, that's the difference in hitting the ceiling of that $1 million mark, mindset, operational. I mean, all that plays into it. And to me, the $1 million mark is just kind of, we put a lot of emphasis on seven figures. But a lot of it is the mindset you're talking about, the getting out of the way, the delegation, trusting people to have the autonomy to do their friggin' job that you hired them to do. You're paying them. God knows how much. Let them do it, man. And clear the way for you to do your own job. Yeah, I love that.
Yep. Yeah.
Thinking about pricing. I know you have a lot of resources on pricing. Talk about some of these, mistakes or pitfalls or whatever that instantly tells you that all right, this is definitely an agency that's run by a creative professional that just hasn't matured yet.
Yeah. I mean, people cave on their pricing without really knowing what their cost to do the work is. I'm a big fan of, that's calculation number one. How much is it going to cost you to make this website for the client? Now you have one metric. That's not the price you charge, but that's your floor. You're never going to go below that. And then you got to understand, what is the market charge for things like this? There is a market value. If everybody is charging $7,000 for a brochure site that competes with you, then you cannot likely charge $70,000 for a brochure site unless you are selling from a different position, which is one of reputation, relationship. That's where those things change. So you got to understand those kinds of things. You got to understand where the client's budget will be. I think I use the $10,000 logo as an example a lot, because I think there are a lot of creatives out there that think that they have to keep upping their price. But for many or most businesses that are small businesses, they will never get a return on their investment for a $10,000 logo. Take the barber on Main Street in your town. You cannot charge that person 10 grand for a logo. There is a ceiling of where it makes sense for them to spend, because they will never get a return on investment for a logo of that price. Now, there are plenty of clients that will pay 10, 20, 7 figures for rebrands. We just saw several this year, Cracker Barrel being one that was big, millions of dollars spent, ended up abandoning the thing, which could be a whole other conversation. I think they got unfairly reprimanded by the market, and they bailed too quick, in my opinion. But anyway, So I think that there's some of that in the world of pricing. Another thing I think this is an error that a lot of creatives that can't get unstuck don't realize. You got to track your win rate. So take your last 3 website projects, if you make websites for clients, and you pitch them all for your normal rate of, let's say, $12,000, and all 3 of them said yes. Well, that tells me that you have room to push up your price. Yep. So now your next one, you're going to bid it at 15 grand, and you're going to see if you get a yes. If you get no pushback, then try 16 grand on the next one. Try 18 grand on the next one. I don't recommend, and this is contrary to what some other people teach in our space, I don't recommend you go from 12 grand for yeses and then say, oh, I got to charge my worth and bump to 24,000. That's craziness. I did not do that in my agency. In the early years of my agency, a $12,000 project was a big one. You go fast forward 10 years and anything under 100 grand engagement, I probably wasn't even in the meeting. So it was the scaling happened without any kind of dramatic, I'm going to double my prices or I'm going to triple my prices. It's a consistent pushing the price ceiling over time is the safe way to do it without completely destroying your revenue.
Yeah.
So track it and push the price ceiling up. You got too many yeses. You don't want to win everything. So if you're winning 80, 90, 100% of your bids, that is a bad business. You got to price it up so that you get some resistance. Find where that resistance is. Then that's your new price. And now you go and market yourself, adjust your marketing, adjust your reputation, work on winning some awards or whatever it's going to take to get you known enough to push to the next level above that.
Yeah, I love that. And absolutely true, man. If the win rate is too high, you're giving it away. So incrementally upsell. Talk about burnout. Prior to selling, was that something that you were experiencing? What do you see kind of now for your life? What adjustments have you made to kind of protect your energy?
Yeah, that's a good one. When I was running my agency, I had so much burden on the overhead and the clients and the demand. And we were doing a lot of revenue and a lot of clients, a lot of employees. And I never let myself feel burned out. I just kept going. I was just like grinding. And until it all just hit a head. And then this is in year like 12. And I was like, man, I couldn't do it anymore. I just broke. I broke from it. I do not recommend that piece, but that's the way that I did it. And I try and help my people that I coach and work with to realize, okay, it is okay to take your foot off the gas for a month or 2 months or a quarter. It does not mean you're going to stop moving the car, but you don't have to have pedal to the metal. It's okay if you're feeling burned out to let your foot up a little bit on the gas and coast for a few months until you catch your breath. Take all those things that you're feeling like, oh, I got to redesign my site. Got to get these case studies up. I got to redo my proposal process. I got to add SOPs and all this burden of stuff that you're hearing on podcasts of people like us telling them, this is what you got to do. Take it all and say, I'm not going to do any of it for 3 months. I'm just going to keep my deadlines hit and do the work that comes in. I'm not even going to push selling for right now. Do a little to keep something happening, but I'm not going to be like daily going and trying to do the thing. That is the advice that I give. And I did not let myself do that nearly enough, if ever, until I just crashed from it.
Yeah. So how has your kind of view or definition of success, I put that word in air quotes, shifted, since selling your agency?
Okay. The difference for me now, I'm fortunate to not have that financial burden of feeling like, oh, I got to make so much money so I can pay my bills or whatever. I'm out of that. And now I'm an entrepreneur for the fun of entrepreneurship. And I love playing entrepreneur game. I love it. I love trying to understand my audience. I love trying to figure out my messaging, my marketing, adding services, doing retreats, adding stuff to what I offer. That's just so fun for me to play entrepreneur. It's so fun. So I think that for me is the success. When you get to a level where you're picking and choosing what you want to do for your job, quote unquote, man, it can be so fun to be an entrepreneur. Now, in the earlier time, success for me was, okay, if I have 10 employees, then I'm successful. If I have this cool studio space, then I'm successful. If I land this client, if I win this award, if I have X amount of money coming in revenue for the year, or in my bank account, in my business account, in my business investments, whatever it was, I always had these little check boxes of this, and then I'll be successful. Then I'll be successful. And the irony is that, and I just told this to somebody yesterday, after you're making 120 grand a year in revenue for yourself, and you have $1 million of net worth, anything bigger than that has not affected my happiness level at all. I feel exactly the same. You can have 10 million in the bank and you feel the same happiness about your money as when I had $1 million. You can have 400,000 in revenue for yourself and income, and you feel exactly the same as 120 grand living in the United States, where most of us can live on 120 grand, pay our bills and make ends meet. Now, many places, I suppose, I lived in LA for a while. 120 grand was not going to get it done there, not in Manhattan, but most people can live in a place where that is sufficient income to make them have a comfortable life in the United States. Anything bigger than that does not move the needle on happiness. So I think that's my kind of perspective on what success looks like. Don't miss the mark. I didn't feel more proud of my business after checking all the boxes. Every box I checked for success, quote unquote, just made me see the 5 other boxes that I hadn't checked yet. And I just keep going after those. And I just never let myself enjoy the moment that I was in. Shame on me.
I love that. Yeah, it's a good perspective to have now. All right, I want to shift gears, wrap up. I want to stay on schedule. So I'm going to wrap up with a couple of rapid fire questions for you.
Okay.
The first is, other than your own books, what's one book that every creative should read?
The E-Myth, Michael Gerber. Game changer, 100%. Life changer. It is, man, it literally changed my entire career.
Yeah.
That book. Yep.
Love it. Yep. What's a client you would drop everything with to go work with again?
Okay. If I could go back in time, ABC Family was my biggest client for the first 3 or 4 years. The people who were running ABC Family at the time were good friends of mine from Fox Family when I was working with them at Fox. It was so fun. I was doing work with my friends. They were calling me up and saying, I have the budget. Here's my budget number. We have the assets. I didn't have to sell. I didn't have to pitch. It was just like, Mike, here's the budget. Here's the work. Here's the budget. Here's the work. Did 7 figures of revenue with them in the first few years of my agency. And it was just so fun. I just love working with people who I love working with. And I recommend that to every creative entrepreneur, man. Turn your clients into friends. It's a game changer on how you feel about your day-to-day business. It just changes everything. Yeah.
I love that. And then finally, what's the most overrated piece of advice that you hear in the creative industry these days?
Oh, man. Overrated. Okay. I have a piece of content that is brewing for years, but value-based pricing is not the game for most creatives out there. It is not how you should be pricing your work. Meaning, I do believe in pricing for your value, but the pitch of how much revenue do you think you'll make off of X work that I do for you? I will charge you Y percentage of that work. I look back, I did 30 million in revenue in my agency run. And I don't think I could have value-based priced anyone that entire time based on that model. And I've seen that model get taught. And it's not the only way to get to your number. And you can make millions of dollars pricing in a more traditional, fundamental way than that. So be careful how much you go all in on a model like that. There are other ways that I actually prefer.
Yeah, love that. Michael, man, I really appreciate you spending time with me, getting to know you, all the wisdom. I mean, you've got a vast amount of experience.
Thanks again for tuning in to Agency Bytes. If you know someone with expert knowledge on a topic that agency owners would love to hear about, go to agencyoutsight.com/podcast-guest and nominate them.